Hello, fellow investor. I want to welcome you to this channel. In this video, we're going to look at the Chevron earnings expectations. Chevron is scheduled to report first quarter earnings on Friday, May 2nd, before the market open. We'll cover several topics to see how Chevron is trading going into earnings and help set expectations moving forward. We will review the current price chart and trend charts along with some key valuation metrics. So let's get started. In the previous quarter, they reported revenue of $52.23 billion, beating estimates by $3.82 billion. They reported EPS of $2.06 per share, missing estimates by a nickel. For this quarter, they're expected to produce $48.39 billion in revenue with $2.15 per share earnings. Over the last 90 days, 4 analysts have raised estimates and 10 analysts have lowered estimates. Chevron meets or beats analysts' 1-year forward estimates 30% of the time. The options market is pricing an implied move of plus or minus 3.99%. Turning our attention to the Chevron price chart, I entered a small position on March 21st, so about right here, and it ran to an all-time high, and then the tariff announcements were made, and we saw the precipitous drop in the price, where I did pick up a few more shares here just to reduce my cost basis. The interesting thing is we did get a PPO sales signal on April the 2nd, and had I heeded that, I could have stepped away with a loss of about 4%, but currently I'm sitting at a loss of about 12% on this position. And the reason I didn't really heed this signal is the entire market was down on this day, so I somewhat ignored it to my peril at this point. From the peak to the trough, Chevron fell about 22%. You can see that it has very weak RSI, which is declining. The RSI is sitting at 38. These numbers are going to change because this is a real-time chart. We can also see on the PPO that we're in negative territory. We did get a buy signal, crossover of the signal line a few trading days ago, but it's very weak given that we don't have any confirmation from the relative strength indicator. When we look at the relative strength compared to the SPX, the momentum is about the same as the SPX, but the relative strength is underperforming. We can also see over the last year or so that we've had declining accumulation. We also have negative money flow at this point. And then finally, when we compare its performance to the SPY, it has underperformed the SPY by 21.7%. It has underperformed the XLE, the sector, by 1.84%. It is outperforming its industry group by 1.29%. When we look at the Chevron trend chart, which is a 5-year range using weekly data, we can see that we did have a pretty good run up in Chevron in 21 up through 22, but since that point we pretty much traded sideways. When we look at the long-term view, we can see that Chevron is trading under its long-term averages. We actually have a negative signal here. In the midterm, over the next few months, we also see that we're trading under those midterm averages, and this seems to be increasing at this point. So something that I'm going to have to watch. And then using short-term averages, it's trading below those as well, but it is somewhat improving as we move into the earnings. Looking at some of the key metrics from Seeking Alpha, we can see that Chevron does trade at a premium to the sector. For the forward PE, Chevron trades at 15.84 times compared to the sector of 10.79. When we look at the growth rates, we can see that Chevron is expected to grow their EPS over the next year by a negative 7.84% compared to the sector. They're also expected to grow their revenue by a negative 0.12% compared to the sector of 351. And when we look at the profitability metrics, net margin, we can see that Chevron trades at 9.03%, which is exactly the same as the sector. When we look at Chevron using fast graphs, we can see that they're currently trading at a blended PE of 13.86. They have an EPS yield of 7.22% and a dividend yield of 5.03%. For this time frame of 13 years, they have an adjusted operating earnings growth rate of 2.16%. Fast Graphs calculates a fair value ratio of 12.81%, and the normal PE assigned by the market is 18.78%. The normal PE is indicated by this blue line, and the fair value calculated by Fast Graphs is this gold line. So if we continue trading at its current PE at the end of this year, we actually expect a negative return. But if we go to the subsequent year, we're looking at about a 16% total annualized return through December 2026, based on these growth rates that we have from the analyst, where we're expected to decrease earnings per share by 7% for this year, and then it returns to 26% for December 2026, and finally 14% for 2027. I want to thank you for watching and hope the earnings preview was helpful. Talk to you again soon. Have a great day. Thank you and trade well.